When I first saw her, she didn't look like much. A chipped hull, flaking paint, mildew crawling up the sides, a tired skeleton of what once must have been a proud yacht, rocking gently in the corner slip of a half-forgotten marina. But something about her made me stop walking. Maybe it was the name, barely legible across the stern, Second Wind. My father used to say that boats have souls, that they remember every wave and every hand that's guided them. He never got to own one himself. He died before he could. So when I saw Second Wind, I felt that tug you get when the past suddenly reaches forward and grabs you by the collar. It wasn't logic. It wasn't even a smart financial decision. It was a whisper. Take me home. I asked the harbor master about her. He chuckled, the kind of laugh that says you're not the first dreamer to ask. She's been sitting there 9 years. He said, owner disappeared after the recession. Papers are a mess. You really want that headache? I did. It took 6 weeks of chasing signatures, paying back fees, and proving she wasn't stolen. Every document I signed felt like dragging an anchor up from the deep. But when I finally held the title, my name printed in crisp black ink, I felt something I hadn't in years. Hope that maybe I could finish what Dad started. The first day I stepped on board, the boards groaned under my weight. The cabin smelled of salt, oil, and time. Dust coated everything like a thin memory. But underneath, the framework was sound. She still had a heart. I started cleaning right away. Scrubbing mildew, airing out the cabin, pulling rusted nails. I filmed short clips for myself, little progress logs no one else would see. It felt good to build again. The marina was quiet, mostly retirees and weekend sailors. You'd think peace like that would stay untouched, but every community has its watchers. Mine was a woman named Karen. She lived 2 slips over on a bulky white houseboat with wind chimes that never stopped. From the first day, she took notice. That boat? She asked, hands on hips. Didn't know anyone bought it. Her tone wasn't curious. It was territorial. I smiled, polite. Yeah, finally got the paperwork through. Bit of a fixer-upper. She tilted her head, squinting. People around here don't like surprises. Then she smiled, tight, perfunctory, and walked away. It seemed harmless. Just marina small talk. Still, that night I found myself locking the hatch. Something I hadn't done before. Days blurred into a rhythm. Sand, patch, paint, rest. The mornings smelled of seaweed and diesel. Evenings brought gulls screaming across the pier. I started imagining how it would look when finished. New wood trim, solar panels, maybe a little galley where Dad's framed photo would hang. Karen's presence grew like a tide. She'd stop by accidentally every few hours, asking what chemicals I was using, if I'd gotten permission to park my car in the maintenance lot, if I was planning to live aboard. Questions that sounded friendly but landed like checkpoints. Once, she even leaned over the railing of her houseboat and snapped a picture of Second Wind. Just documenting the neighborhood improvements, she said. I laughed it off, but inside something turned cold. A week later, I found a note tucked under a paint can on the deck. The handwriting was round, almost cheerful. Please stop making noise after 6 p.m. Some of us live here full time. I hadn't worked past 5. I shrugged and ignored it. But 2 days later, another note appeared. You're blocking my view with that tarp. And then, you can't store hazardous waste here. Each signed only, community concerned. I brought them to the harbor office. The manager rolled his eyes. She's harmless, he said. Karen complains about everything, from birds to boat colors. Don't let her get to you. I tried not to. Still, when I caught her one evening standing on my deck while I was at the hardware store, hands on hips peering into the cabin, I felt my stomach drop. Can I help you? I called from the dock. She jumped, startled, then smiled that same thin smile. Oh, I thought I heard leaking. Wanted to make sure it wasn't polluting the water. You're welcome, by the way. I told her firmly to stay off my property. She shrugged. If it's still abandoned under marina law, it's not really yours yet. That sentence stuck with me. I double-checked my paperwork that night, flipping through forms until midnight. Everything was legitimate. My name, clear title, fees paid. Still, I couldn't shake the unease. When I returned the next morning, a small scratch ran along the hull. Fresh paint, gouged. Accidental? Maybe. But the feeling that someone wanted me gone started to take root. Over the following weeks, I poured everything into Second Wind. I replaced the rotted flooring, rewired the lights, and sanded every inch of teak until my fingers ached. Bit by bit, she came back to life. One evening, Karen wandered over again, holding a mug of tea. You're really putting effort into that wreck, she said. Yeah, I replied. She's worth it. Her eyes flicked over the deck, calculating. You know, if you ever get tired of it, I'd take it off your hands. Be a shame if the marina decided it wasn't up to code. I smiled without smiling. Good thing I'm following every code then. She sipped her tea, unfazed. Codes change fast around here. After she left, I realized the camera on the dock light, one I'd installed for security, was tilted downward, away from the boat. Someone had moved it. That night, I set up an old motion sensor inside the cabin just in case. The following weekend, I left town for a short work trip. It was only 5 days. I locked everything, secured the dock lines, even asked the marina guard to keep an eye out. When I came back, the padlock on the hatch was different. At first, I thought maybe the guard had replaced it after an inspection, but when I tried my key, it didn't fit. I called the marina office. They hadn't touched it. Then I heard it, voices inside, children laughing, the faint scrape of a chair across the floor. I knocked, heart hammering. A woman's voice called out, "Occupied!" "Occupied?" I repeated, incredulous. Through the small porthole, I saw her, Karen, standing in the galley wearing sunglasses and a smirk. Two kids darted behind her, chasing each other with towels. I tried to speak calmly. "Karen, this is my yacht." She raised an eyebrow. "Oh, is it?" Looked abandoned to me. "We're just keeping it from sinking." "You're welcome." I stared at her. "I have the title." "You broke in. Abandoned property law says 7 years of neglect voids ownership." She quoted it like scripture. "We've been maintaining it for a week already." "That's possession." I was speechless. The audacity felt surreal, like watching someone steal your car while claiming it's theirs because they washed it. I called the marina manager again. He came down, saw the situation, and looked as stunned as I was. "Karen, you can't just move into someone's boat," he said. She crossed her arms. "Prove it's his." "You people never filed a transfer notice on the county dock record. That makes it open claim." It wasn't true, but she said it with such confidence that for a moment even I hesitated. Police came. They called it a civil matter. "Take it to court," one officer said, shrugging. "Can't remove them without an eviction order." Karen smiled behind him, like a cat watching the mouse get lectured for being caught. I spent that night in my car by the marina, watching the lights flicker inside my own yacht. Every laugh, every clink of dishes echoed like a taunt. By dawn, I'd decided I wasn't walking away. I began gathering evidence: photographs, copies of the title, marina receipts, video clips from the motion sensor that caught Karen entering the night I left. I documented every moment. For 2 weeks, I played detective. Karen pretended I didn't exist, strolling down the dock each morning with her coffee while her kids waved from my deck. She even had the nerve to hang wind chimes from the railing. That's when I realized this wasn't impulsive. It was calculated. She knew the loopholes. She'd done this before. When I searched public records, I found eviction filings under her name in 2 different counties. Each case dismissed or delayed because she moved before a final hearing. She was a professional squatter, and I was her latest target. I filed a legal notice immediately, but the court date was weeks away. In the meantime, she acted like queen of the pier, inviting friends over, blasting music, hosting what she called dockside dinners. The harbor staff avoided confrontation. They'd seen how fast she threatened lawsuits. I stopped sleeping. Every night I'd sit in my car, watching my own lights glow across the water, wondering how I'd let my father's dream turn into this nightmare. One evening, as I sat there, a thought struck me. She wanted silence. She wanted me to give up quietly, like all the others before. So I decided to stop being quiet. I stopped being quiet. The next morning, I parked my car where everyone could see it and started filming. I held my phone steady, recording second wind with Karen's laundry fluttering from the mast like victory flags. Every detail, her chairs, her string lights, her clutter, I captured it all. Then I posted the video online. It wasn't angry or sensational. I just told the truth. I bought and restored this yacht, left for 5 days, and came back to find a family living inside. I didn't name her or the marina. I didn't have to. The story spread like gasoline meeting a spark. By nightfall, the post had 500,000 views. Comments flooded in. Outrage, advice, disbelief. Some people even offered lawyers. Others shared their own stories of squatters, of laws that protect trespassers more than owners. For the first time, I felt I wasn't alone. Karen noticed, of course. The next morning, she stormed out of the cabin, face flushed. "You violated my privacy," she snapped. I kept my camera rolling. "You're on my property, Karen." She jabbed a finger at me. "Keep recording and I'll sue for harassment." I didn't respond. I just kept filming, calm, steady, refusing to be baited. She turned on her heel and disappeared inside. 2 hours later, a sheriff's deputy arrived again. He sighed when he saw me. "She called, said you were stalking her." I handed him a folder with all my documentation. The bill of sale, title, marina contract, even the serial number plate from the hull. He flipped through it, nodding. "Looks solid," he said. "Still, until there's a formal court order, I can't remove them." Karen appeared behind him, arms crossed. "He's lying. That's forged. He's harassing my family." The deputy looked weary. "Ma'am, if it's fraud, you'll need to prove that in court," she smirked. "Oh, I intend to." As they walked away, I caught her whispering something to the deputy, too soft to hear. But her smile afterward told me it wasn't good. That night, someone slashed my car tires. I reported it. No witnesses, no cameras. The next morning, I found an anonymous complaint taped to the marina office door. Unlicensed repair activity. Possible environmental hazard. They said it came from a resident's tip. Guess who? The marina, fearing legal exposure, suspended my access to the docks pending an inspection. I was locked out of my own boat. I felt the walls closing in. Every day I came back to watch second wind sit there. My boat, my home, my project, now cluttered with Karen's plastic chairs, children's toys, and potted plants. It looked like she'd been there for years. Her kids waved at me once, innocent smiles. They didn't know what was happening. They were just following their mother's lead. The anger I felt wasn't pure rage, it was grief. Grief for the dream I'd rebuilt from scraps, only to see it stolen in broad daylight. But I wasn't done fighting. I started digging deeper. Through public county records, I discovered something Karen clearly didn't expect me to find. Her maintenance claims were based on a misinterpretation of an outdated maritime salvage statute. It only applied to derelict vessels found at sea, not registered boats docked in a private marina. She wasn't just wrong, she was bluffing. I sent the documents to a lawyer from one of the online comments, a man named Jeff who specialized in maritime property law. He reviewed them and his first response was short but electrifying. "You've got her. Let's make it official." We filed a formal possession claim, backed by proof of purchase, title transfer, marina lease, and witness statements. It was airtight, but legal processes move slower than tides. It would be weeks before a judge could hear it. In the meantime, Karen escalated. She began telling other boat owners I was dangerous, that I'd threatened her kids. Some believed her, others just didn't want drama. One evening, I returned to find my toolbox gone. Then my dock permit sticker peeled off. Then someone dumped bleach into a bucket of varnish I'd left by the pier, each act small enough to dismiss, but together, a siege. When I confronted her again, she didn't deny it. She just smiled and said, "Actions have consequences." I realized then she wasn't just trying to take my boat. She wanted to break me, to make me leave in humiliation so she could claim moral victory. But I wasn't leaving, so I changed tactics. If the law was slow, I'd use time as my ally. I bought a drone and started documenting every day. Timestamps, footage, proof of habitation. I built a folder thicker than a phone book, labeled evidence of occupation and damage. Each night, I'd upload it to the cloud, date stamped and secure. I also started visiting the marina more often, not to fight, but to be seen. Visibility was protection. The more witnesses, the harder it was for her to twist the narrative. Karen hated that. She'd peek through the curtains every time I stood on the dock, phone in hand. She started keeping the cabin windows covered, the doors locked, but her kids still played outside, oblivious. Sometimes they'd wave, sometimes they'd throw pebbles into the water and giggle. I couldn't bring myself to hate them. They were victims too. The court date finally arrived 3 weeks later. I walked in with Jeff, calm but trembling inside. Karen showed up in oversized sunglasses, carrying a stack of self-printed documents claiming maintenance possession. She spoke first, confident as ever. "Your Honor, this man abandoned the vessel. My family performed upkeep. Therefore, we are entitled to residency under maritime salvage rights." Jeff stood, silent for a moment before responding. "Your Honor, this isn't open ocean salvage. This is theft under the guise of civil occupancy. The vessel is privately owned, docked under contract, and maintained by the plaintiff. The defendant forcibly entered and altered property not belonging to her." He handed over photos, timestamps, motion footage, even the invoice for the padlock she replaced. The judge leaned forward, studying the papers. "Ms. Karen," he said, "you have 24 hours to vacate or you'll be forcibly removed by law enforcement." For a second, she looked stunned. Then her face hardened. "This isn't over," she hissed, but it was, or so I thought. When I returned to the marina that night, I found Second Wind dark and silent. No laughter, no music. I felt a rush of relief. Maybe she'd already left. But as I climbed aboard, I smelled it. Gasoline. The cabin floor was slick with it, the air heavy and toxic. A small candle sat on the counter, unlit but placed deliberately beside a matchbox. My breath caught. I grabbed the candle, heart pounding, scanning every corner. She was gone. But she'd wanted me to know what she could have done. I called the police immediately. They filed it as potential arson intent. But since nothing burned, it was another unproven threat. Karen had vanished. Days passed. I cleaned the yacht, scrubbing away every trace of her presence. The curtains, the chipped mugs, a faint smell of her perfume. But no matter how much I worked, the boat felt different, violated. The community watched in uneasy silence. Some offered awkward sympathy. Others avoided eye contact. The marina manager apologized, but it rang hollow. "We didn't think she'd go that far," he said. I just nodded. There was nothing left to say. Still, I kept working, repainting, rewiring, resanding, because giving up would have meant she won. Then, 2 weeks later, I got a letter, not from her, from the HOA. Apparently, Karen had filed multiple complaints before she left. Excessive noise, hazardous materials, unapproved renovations. Each one now required official inspection and fines. They wanted $3,400. I laughed, a broken, bitter sound. It wasn't over. She'd planned this too, like leaving a poison pill in the paperwork. The inspection date was set for the following Friday. That night, I sat on the deck staring across the black water, thinking of my father. He'd always said owning something beautiful means fighting to protect it. Not from storms, but from people who mistake your passion for weakness. I didn't sleep much. The inspection came and went. The officer walked through, checked everything, found nothing wrong. Still, he said the board might review the situation further. And sure enough, at the next HOA meeting, yes, the marina had its own association, Karen was there. She'd reappeared like a ghost, sitting in the audience, calm, smug, untouched. The board chair looked uncomfortable, but allowed her to voice community concerns. Karen stood, projecting her voice with polished indignation. We all want a safe marina, but some residents, she glanced at me, think rules don't apply to them. The room buzzed. I could feel eyes shifting. I stood up. You're trespassing at a private hearing, I said. She smirked. As a member of the adjacent HOA, I have shared interest in environmental safety. The chair mumbled something about procedural allowances. Karen continued, rattling off accusations, noise, odors, late-night lights, none of it true. But truth didn't matter. She was creating a story, and stories stick. I felt that same sinking dread from weeks earlier, the sense that logic wasn't enough. So I took out my phone, opened a document, and read aloud. This is a formal statement from County Court Case number 4529, confirming legal ownership of the vessel known as Second Wind, registered under my name. Any further attempts to interfere will be considered harassment under Section 649 of the Penal Code. Silence. Karen's smile faltered. The chair cleared his throat. I believe that settles it. She grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the blinds rattled. I exhaled, finally, shaky, hollow, but free. Or maybe not entirely free, because even after she was gone, I couldn't shake the feeling she'd left fingerprints everywhere. In my mind, in the water, in the whispers that followed me down the pier. Still, that night, for the first time in months, I slept aboard Second Wind. The boards creaked softly beneath me. The air smelled like salt and old paint. And as I drifted off, I could almost hear my father's voice. You did it, son. You kept her afloat. I thought it was over, but peace in communities like this is never permanent. It's just a lull before someone else finds a rule to weaponize. After the board meeting, I kept my head down. I worked quietly, avoided conflict, tried to rebuild trust with the neighbors who had watched the chaos unfold. Some were kind. They'd wave or offer a nod, muttering, glad that mess is over, but others looked away as if the drama had tainted me. Like I was radioactive now, someone to avoid, just in case the next complaint blew their way. Still, I focused on Second Wind. I patched the deck seams, refinished the railings, and for the first time, felt like she was mine again. Each brush stroke of varnish was a small act of defiance against everything Karen had done. But she wasn't done. It started with whispers. She's saying you forged the title, one of the marina techs told me quietly, that you scammed the county office. Then, another neighbor mentioned a letter, anonymous, claiming my renovation work was illegal live aboard modification. And then came the video. One morning, I woke up to messages from friends. Dude, isn't this your boat? A YouTube video posted on a local gossip channel titled Corrupt Owner Steals Family's Home on the Water. There she was, Karen, standing by the pier, crocodile tears in her eyes, telling a camera crew how her homeless family had been thrown out by a heartless man exploiting a loophole. She painted herself as the victim, showing clips of her kids playing on the deck, talking about how they fixed the yacht, made it livable, only for me to snatch it away through privilege and paperwork. The video had 500,000 views in 2 days, and the comments, they were vicious. Typical rich jerk. Hope karma gets him. People like him ruin communities. It was a nightmare all over again. This time public, I called Jeff, my lawyer. Can we sue her for defamation? He sighed. We could, but that would drag on for months. You'll spend more time fighting her than living your life. My advice? Let's get her discredited publicly with facts. So we built a counter. Every document, every timestamp, every clip of her trespassing, I gathered them all. We released a detailed video. The truth about the yacht Karen tried to steal. No insults, no mockery, just proof. Screenshots of official court filings, footage of her breaking the lock, even the police report where she admitted entering to protect the property. The difference between our videos was night and day. Hers was emotional manipulation. Mine was evidence, and that contrast lit the internet on fire. Within a week, the tide turned. Commenters who'd once attacked me switched sides. Wait, she actually broke in? She lied about everything. That guy's the victim here. The gossip channel quietly deleted her interview, but Karen didn't take humiliation quietly. She filed a restraining order against me, claiming I was stalking her online and inciting harassment. A laughable move, except the paperwork froze my access to the marina again until it was resolved. I remember sitting in my car outside the courthouse, staring at the document. Her name name printed right there, accusing me, again, of the very things she had done. My hands trembled on the steering wheel, not from fear this time, but from exhaustion. How do you fight someone who doesn't care if they lose, as long as you suffer too? But I wasn't alone anymore. By then, the online community had grown. Thousands of people following every update, sending encouragement, offering help. One retired lawyer even volunteered to represent me pro bono for the restraining order hearing. That hearing became the breaking point. Karen arrived, perfectly composed. Her hair neatly done, her voice calm, almost charming. She spun her narrative again. He's obsessed. He follows me. He films me without consent. The judge looked unimpressed. Ms. Karen, is there evidence? She smiled sweetly. Yes, Your Honor. He posts videos of me online. My attorney stood. Videos documenting a crime in progress, Your Honor. The defendant publicly admitted trespassing. My client merely provided evidence. He handed over the motion sensor footage. Karen entering the yacht, flashlight in hand, carrying bags before my return. The judge's eyes narrowed. Ms. Karen, is that you? Her voice faltered. That's taken out of context. Context? The judge leaned forward. Breaking and entering a vessel isn't context. It's a crime. The silence that followed was thick enough to feel. Her attorney whispered something frantically to her, but the damage was done. The restraining order was not only dismissed, it was reversed. The court granted me a protective order instead. Karen left the room shaking, her facade cracking for the first time. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just dealing with arrogance. I was dealing with someone who couldn't accept loss. A week later, the final blow landed, not from me, but from karma itself. The Marina Association called an emergency meeting. Apparently, Karen had multiple outstanding complaints, not just from me, but from 3 other residents. Harassment, property damage, false reports. And someone, an anonymous source, had forwarded her eviction records from other marinas and neighborhoods. She walked into that meeting confident, still trying to play the victim. But when the board displayed the compiled file on the projector, the room gasped. Her pattern was undeniable. She'd done this for years, moving from place to place, squatting, manipulating rules, always crying victim when caught. Her voice broke mid-defense. You're all turning against me because of him, she pointed at me. The chair shook his head. No, Karen, because of you. For the first time, she had no words. Her face went pale, and her hands trembled as she realized the truth. Her power was gone. The board voted unanimously. Permanent ban from the marina and affiliated properties. Immediate eviction. 0 appeal. Security escorted her out that same evening. As she passed me on the dock, she paused, eyes burning with fury. You think you won? She hissed. But this isn't justice. It's revenge. I looked at her evenly. No, Karen, it's consequence. She said nothing else. She just turned and walked away, her wind chimes rattling one last time as she passed her empty houseboat. I stood there for a long time after she was gone, the sound fading into the night breeze. I expected triumph, but what I felt was something different. Not relief, not satisfaction, just quiet, like the still water after a storm. The following morning, I found an envelope taped to my cabin door. Inside, one photograph, a picture of my father and me, the same one I'd kept framed in the galley. She'd taken it while she lived aboard, no note, no apology. Just the photo. That small act broke me more than any of her lies, because it meant that, even in her cruelty, she'd seen what the boat meant to me, and maybe that's why she chose it, to attack something sacred, not just something valuable. I sat on the deck for hours, staring at the horizon, the photo clutched in my hand. Then I stood, walked into the cabin, and hung it back on the wall, where it belonged. The weeks that followed were a blur of slow healing. The marina grew quiet again. The kids' laughter returned, but from different boats now. People started greeting me with real smiles, not pity. Even the HOA apologized for their delay, waiving all my bogus fines. And second wind, she finally looked alive. The teak gleamed under sunlight, the sails crisp and white again. When I started her engine for the first time since buying her, the hum vibrated through my chest like a heartbeat returning to life. I took her out for a solo sail that afternoon, the wind strong, the water calm. Halfway across the bay, I cut the motor and let her drift. For the first time in months, silence felt peaceful, not tense. I thought about my father, how proud he'd be that I didn't give up, that I didn't let someone's malice erase what he'd inspired. Karen never came back. I heard she moved inland somewhere. Started renting again under a different name. Maybe she'll find peace, or maybe she'll repeat the cycle, but either way, she's not my problem anymore. That evening, as the sun dropped behind the horizon, painting the water gold, I recorded one last video, not for revenge, not for views, just to close the chapter. I faced the camera, the breeze rippling through my hair, second wind steady behind me. I learned something through all this, I said. Sometimes the biggest storms aren't weather, they're people. And no matter how calm the water looks, there's always someone who'll try to rock your boat just to see see if you'll sink, but you can't let them. You fix the leaks, you patch the damage, and you keep sailing. I paused, staring at the lens. If you're fighting something unfair, keep your proof, keep your calm, and never let anyone steal what you've built. Because peace isn't given, it's defended. I ended the recording, turned off the camera, and leaned back against the railing. The marina lights shimmered across the dark water like tiny promises. For the first time in a long while, I felt like second wind, and I both had one thing in common. We'd survived the storm. The morning after my final video went live, I woke up to something I hadn't felt in a long time. Silence, no buzzing phone, no notifications exploding, no threats, just the sound of waves gently tapping against the hull. It felt unreal. For months, every day had been a battle. Courtrooms, arguments, HOA meetings, endless accusations. It had consumed everything, and now it was just quiet. I stepped out onto the deck, mug of coffee in hand, and watched the sun rise over the marina. The reflection shimmered across the calm surface, and for the first time, I noticed how the light bounced off. The fresh coat of varnish I'd applied just weeks earlier. Second Wind looked alive, not haunted by conflict anymore. She looked at peace. I was too. But peace never comes without scars. The video I posted, the truth about the yacht Karen tried to steal, did more than clear my name. It ignited a broader conversation. Other homeowners, renters, and even HOA board members reached out to share their stories of manipulation, power abuse, and bureaucratic corruption. Hundreds of messages poured in. I'm going through the same thing. Our HOA president forged inspection fines to force us out. You gave me courage to speak up. It hit me then. What I'd gone through wasn't isolated. It was systemic. These organizations were supposed to preserve neighborhoods, but too often, they turned into miniature kingdoms where rules became weapons. So, instead of fading into obscurity, I decided to document what I'd learned. I spent months interviewing others, collecting stories. Families who lost homes over garden fences, retirees fined into bankruptcy over mailbox colors. Even veterans sued for flags that disrupted visual harmony. The stories were heartbreaking. But every voice shared one common theme. Silence had enabled the abuse. I realized something powerful. I hadn't just survived Karen. I'd learned how to make sure people like her never thrived again. Word travels fast in tight communities and faster online. After the marina's decision, Karen's name spread across local HOA circles like wildfire. A few months later, I learned she'd tried to join another gated neighborhood, this time as a community coordinator. But the board discovered the trail of restraining orders and police reports. They rejected her application. I don't celebrate that with joy, more like solemn acceptance. Because watching someone's reputation collapse isn't satisfying, it's sobering. It shows how far desperation can drive a person and how easy it is for ego to disguise itself as justice. A few weeks later, one of her old neighbors messaged me. Karen moved inland. She's renting now. Keeps to herself. No new complaints. No drama. Just silence. And honestly, that's all I ever wanted. The yacht saga didn't just end with Karen. It forced the HOA board to take a hard look at itself. Two of the board members who'd initially sided with her resigned after public scrutiny. The new leadership, headed by an older man named Paul, started implementing transparency rules. Every inspection, fine, and vote had to be documented and publicly accessible. At the first open meeting under the new system, Paul called me up to speak. I didn't prepare a speech. I just told the truth. All of this started because someone thought rules mattered more than people. The day we forget that this community is made of humans, not properties, not docks, not bylaws, is the day we stop being a community at all. When I finished, the room went quiet. Then applause, slow at first, but genuine. Even the marina techs stood in the back, nodding. That applause wasn't for me. It was for closure. For the idea that maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild trust again. Restoring Second Wind became symbolic. Every piece of wood I sanded, every bolt I tightened. It wasn't just repair work, it was therapy. When I first found her, she was a wreck, like I'd been. Rusted, waterlogged, forgotten. But both of us had potential waiting beneath the damage. I spent entire weekends working in silence, the smell of varnish mixing with salt air. Sometimes I'd talk to the boat out loud, half joking, half serious. We made it, huh? You and me against the world. One afternoon, while polishing the brass fittings, I found something wedged behind a loose panel in the galley. A small toy car, faded red. One of Karen's kids must have left it behind. For a moment, I froze. My first instinct was to toss it, but then I stopped. I cleaned it, set it on the shelf above the navigation panel. A reminder that even chaos leaves behind innocent traces. Maybe that's the part of empathy people forget in conflicts like these. It's easy to hate the aggressor. Harder to remember the collateral lives tangled in their mess. 6 months later, I finally did it. I took Second Wind out for her maiden voyage since the restoration. The sky was clear, the water glass smooth. I invited a few close friends, the same ones who'd supported me through the ordeal. We stocked the galley with sandwiches, coffee, and too much laughter. As the marina shrank behind us, I looked back and saw the slip where Karen's boat used to sit, empty now. The water there was calm, unbothered. It almost looked healed. I turned back to the wheel, raised the sails, and felt the wind catch with force. The boat leaned gracefully, cutting through the bay like she remembered what freedom felt like. For the first time in over a year, I wasn't running from anything. I wasn't defending myself, proving anything, or fearing what would happen next. I was just living. And that's the thing about surviving long conflicts. You forget what peace feels like until it finds you again. That night, after docking, I filmed one last clip. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just honest. If you're watching this, and you're dealing with someone who's trying to ruin your peace, don't let them. Keep your receipts, know your rights, and don't fight emotion with emotion. Because truth doesn't need to shout. It just needs time. I paused, staring into the camera. And if you're part of an HOA, remember, rules exist to serve people, not control them. Don't become what you're supposed to prevent. The video went viral, not because it was sensational, but because it was real. It struck a nerve. Millions of people across the country shared it, each with their own caption. This is what we've been dealing with. News outlets even picked it up. The man who fought back against the HOA machine. I didn't ask for that title, but if it inspired one person to stand their ground, then maybe the whole nightmare was worth it. Time softens even the hardest memories. A year later, I still live aboard Second Wind. She's not just a yacht anymore, she's home. The marina has transformed. New paint, fairer management, actual community events that bring people together instead of tearing them apart. And me? I've started a small channel dedicated to homeowner rights, property law awareness, and neighborhood conflicts. Not drama. Not call-outs. Education. I never thought the worst year of my life would lead me to something meaningful. But sometimes the path to peace starts with chaos. Every now and then, new subscribers still find the original video and comment, "Where's Karen now?" I never reply, because her story ended where mine began, with lessons learned, not wounds reopened. One evening, while anchored just outside the harbor, a storm rolled in unexpectedly. Thunder growled across the sky, waves slapping against the hull with rising strength. I rushed to secure the rigging, rain soaking through my clothes. The wind howled relentless. For a moment, fear crept in. The old fear, the kind that whispers, "You can't handle this." But then I looked at Second Wind. She didn't falter. The lines held. The sails whipped but didn't tear. She was built for this. I smiled through the downpour. "We've been through worse, old girl," I whispered. "This is nothing." When the storm finally passed, the sky broke open with brilliant light. A full double rainbow stretched across the bay. It felt symbolic, as if the world itself was saying, "You made it." The following week, a journalist asked me during an interview, "What do you want people to take away from your story?" I thought about it for a long moment, then said quietly, "That power doesn't corrupt neighborhoods, people do. But the same way one person can poison a community, one person can also remind it what integrity looks like." She smiled, wrote it down, and later that quote became the headline. That line stuck with me, because that's what this whole ordeal really was, a test of integrity. Not just mine, but everyone's, the HOA's, the neighbors, even Karen's. A few months after that interview, I received a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single page, handwritten, "I watched your videos. I know what I did was wrong. I let anger and pride make me cruel. You didn't deserve what I did. Tell your boat she's beautiful again." Okay, I read it twice. Then again. For a moment, I didn't know what to feel. Anger, closure, maybe even pity. But eventually I smiled. Because forgiveness doesn't always mean letting someone back into your life. Sometimes it's just the moment you decide the past doesn't get to hurt you anymore. I folded the letter neatly, tucked it behind the same photo of my father in the cabin. A quiet symbol that the storm had truly passed. It's been 2 years now since that nightmare ended. Second Wind still sails every month. She's no longer a battleground or a reminder of trauma. She's freedom incarnate. Sometimes, when the breeze hits just right, I swear I can hear my father's laughter in the rigging. I've learned that peace isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about facing it, surviving it, and choosing not to let it define you. Karen taught me that villains don't always wear capes or shout their intentions. They hide behind regulations, titles, and concern. But she also taught me something else, that truth. Patience and persistence are stronger than manipulation. And so, as I sail into the horizon once more, I leave you with this. You can rebuild a boat. You can restore a house. You can even repair your reputation. But the hardest thing to rebuild is trust. And once you do, it becomes unshakable. The water glimmers under the last light of sunset. The sails billow softly, catching the wind. And with the wheel steady in my hands, I whisper,